Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. US envoy Witkoff meets Russian President Vladimir Putin 2 days before Trump's Ukraine ceasefire deadline. Nationalist historian Karol Nawrocki, sworn in as Poland's new president, vows to change country's constitution in his first address to parliament. Rescue operations in full swing after a cloudburst triggers flash floods in Uttarkashi district of Uttarakhand. NDRF says over 150 rescued. Death toll reaches 5. And France battles the largest wildfire of the year that has ravaged 13,000 hectares. Blaze not yet under control. Russian President Vladimir Putin met US envoy Steve Witkoff in Moscow on Wednesday, just 2 days ahead of a deadline set by President Donald Trump for Russia to halt its Ukraine offensive or face fresh sanctions. Trump, who has claimed he could end the war within 24 hours of taking office, has given Moscow until Friday to show concrete steps toward peace. 3 rounds of Russia-Ukraine talks in Istanbul have failed to deliver a breakthrough, while Russia has intensified drone and missile strikes, pushing its offensive to new heights. Earlier, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Wednesday that improving relations between Russia and the United States will take time, referring to the prolonged absence of a meeting between President Vladimir Putin and US President Donald Trump. Peskov, in his remarks to a news agency, said that it takes time for efforts to bring bilateral relations back onto a normal track, but there are inherent delays in this process. Earlier on Tuesday, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky had a productive call with his US counterpart Donald Trump. Both leaders discussed Russia-Ukraine conflict, sanctions on Russia, and the finalization of a US-Ukraine drone deal. Taking to social media X, Zelensky said that President Trump is fully informed about Russian strikes on Kiev and other cities and communities, referring to intensifying drone and missile attacks. And Karol Nawrocki, a 42-year-old nationalist and supporter of US President Donald Trump, was sworn in as Poland's president on Wednesday. Poland's new president pledged to amend the constitution to safeguard national sovereignty, signaling a looming confrontation with centrist Prime Minister Donald Tusk. In a defiant speech to Parliament, the nationalist leader, aligned with the opposition Law and Justice Party, criticized EU influence and vowed to resist illegal migration and Euro adoption. Nawrocki's victory ends the term of PIS ally Andrzej Duda and could reignite political gridlock as the president holds veto power and can propose legislation. Nawrocki emphasized strengthening US ties, reflecting his close ties with Trump. However, he expressed skepticism about Ukraine's NATO membership and criticized Kiev for insufficient gratitude toward Poland. Egypt's Rafah border crossing witnessed movement on Wednesday as Gaza-bound aid trucks moved through. According to Palestinian and UN officials, Gaza needs 600 trucks worth aid per day to survive through a number of previously permitted by Israel before war. Amid global outrage over Israel's stringent steps, the country took some measures to ensure more aid to Gaza, including safe passage to aid convoys. The brother of Israeli hostage Eviatar David told the Security Council to use the leverage to secure the immediate unconditional release of remaining hostages and to ensure humanitarian aid reaches them. David was shown appearing emaciated in a video released by Hamas last week. Showing the video of his brother, he said his brother is a living skeleton, barely the strength to move or speak, his voice barely recognizable.
The last video also exposed another horrifying truth. As my younger brother, a living skeleton, was forced to speak and dig his future grave, you can see the chubby and well-fed hand of Hamas terrorists enter into the frame. We must ensure that all hostages are being released immediately and unconditionally. We don't have more time. They don't have more time. And every minute counts.
During a visit to Latvia, Israeli President Isaac Herzog called on the international community to present a unanimous, tough position not to talk to Hamas until they release the hostages held in Gaza.
I call upon the international community from Riga for a change. How about presenting a unanimous, tough position, including Europe, and saying to Hamas and its allies, we're not talking to you until you release the hostages.
Swiss President Karin Keller-Sutter is set to meet U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio in Washington on Wednesday as both sides scramble to strike a deal that could avert a crippling 39% tariff on Swiss imports. The Trump administration's surprise move last week to impose the steep rate has shocked Switzerland, threatening serious damage to its export-driven economy. Keller-Sutter and Business Minister Guy Parmelin arrived in Washington on Tuesday for urgent talks with the U.S., reportedly pushing for increased Swiss purchases of American energy and defense products as part of a potential compromise. U.S. President Trump suggested on Tuesday that Vice President J.D. Vance is most likely his heir apparent to serve as a Republican nominee in 2028, the furthest he has gone in backing Vance as a future presidential candidate. Trump also proposed that Vance and Secretary of State Marco Rubio join forces for a future Republican ticket. While the 2028 race is still years away, Trump holds considerable influence with the Republican base, and any sign that he is backing a candidate carries significant implications.
Do you agree that the heir apparent to MAGA is J.D. Vance?
Well, I think most likely, in all fairness, he's the vice president. I think Marco is also somebody that maybe would get together with J.D. in some form. I also think we have incredible people, some of the people on the stage right here. So it's too early, obviously, to talk about it, but certainly he's doing a great job, and he would be probably favored at this point.
Germany is looking to cut reliance on China for specific components needed to produce wind turbines and other technology to facilitate the energy transition. For more on this, we are joined by DW correspondent Wada Imran in Berlin. Hi, Wada. I want to ask you, what's the issue?
Thanks for having me. Well, the core issue is that China is the current leading authority on rare earths, minerals, and other materials that are crucial for generating wind energy. And the EU wants to be more independent in its pursuit of green energy. Now, since April this year, Beijing has tightened controls and now require licenses to export some of the core material, which sent waves in businesses worldwide. And on the issue, the German economy minister said that Berlin must establish, quote, robust and resilient supply chains for this. And so, along with 5 other European wind power groups, a new roadmap was released, which basically looks at alternatives and has a timeline to cut dependency on Beijing.
All right. But a recent EU-China summit, Beijing said it would speed up exports of such materials to the bloc. What about that?
Yes, during the EU-China summit this year, Beijing did commit to ramping up exports of the minerals to the EU bloc. But still, Germany wants to speed up its energy transition, aiming to have 80% of its entire electricity supply generated by renewables in the next 5 years, so by 2030. And that's not all. These rare earths that Germany is after is also used in other crucial technology like electric car batteries or hard drives for computers. So it's a tall order, and rather than waiting for geopolitics to maybe change the Beijing-Berlin dynamic, Germany wants to have more options. It's been an issue on the EU's table for a while, this on and off relationship with China, and it has taken on new importance since the Ukraine war.
Okay. And what are Germany's other options?
Well, there's a lot of different voices on this issue in Germany. In March of this year, major wind farms operators like RWE said that without the involvement of Chinese manufacturers, the 2030 deadline that Germany has set will be, quote, virtually impossible to achieve. The energy companies also said that considering supply bottlenecks and costs, Chinese technology should be integrated in German wind farms. On the other hand, the German Institute of Defense and Strategic Studies advised against installing wind farms in Germany using Chinese-made hardware in their turbines. They cite security aspects, and energy companies say these should be clarified by the government or policymakers. When there are limited suppliers and great demand, there should be no issue using Chinese-manufactured products. That's what energy company RWE said in March. Other countries that could step in are Australia, Canada, Estonia, and it seems Germany is in conversation with all of them.
All right, what I will leave with that. Thank you so much. And firefighters in southern France struggled on Wednesday to control a massive wildfire as the blaze spread rapidly through forests and villages, forcing residents and tourists to flee. Claimed to be one of the largest wildfires in years, the blaze has burned 13,000 hectares of land and burned down at least 25 houses. Progressing extremely fast, the fire has forced closure of many roads. One person has been reported dead in the village of Saint-Laurent de la Cabrericie, about 30 kilometers from the city of Papingan. Nearly 2,000 firefighters have been mobilized to combat the flames, adding though that weather conditions with strong winds, low humidity and high temperatures are making it difficult to tame the fire. On August 6, 1945, Hiroshima was transformed in a blinding flash and the city's destiny was forever rewritten by the world's first atomic bomb. Our next report revisits how the tragedy exposed dangers of unchecked scientific power.
Every brick, every voice, and every heartbeat changed in a moment. That act, unprecedented in its scale and suffering, remains, 80 years later, humanity's most haunting testament to the perils of scientific power when uncoupled from conscience. Hiroshima Day endures not as a date frozen in time, but as a living memory that shapes our world's sense of urgency and possibility. When America's atomic bomb Little Boy exploded over Hiroshima, tens of thousands vanished in a heartbeat. The city burned for days while families desperately searched for missing loved ones in landscapes rendered unrecognizable by fire and ash. By the end of that year, approximately 140,000 people had died. Those deaths did not come all at once. Some perished immediately, disintegrated, incinerated or buried beneath rubble. Others died more slowly, struggling with extreme burns, internal injuries, radiation sickness, and even toxic black rain. Yet, Hiroshima's story has never remained fixed in suffering. In the wreckage of absolute devastation, the city chose not retaliation, but renewal. 8 decades later, 12-year-old Shun Sasaki is promoting a message of peace by educating tourists and locals about the dark history of the city through his lived experience of his great-grandmother who survived the atomic bomb.
The most dangerous thing is to forget what happened a long time ago. So I think we should pass the story to the next generation and then never forget it ever again.
Even as such first-hand accounts slip from living memory into history books, Hiroshima refuses to let the world forget. But with more than 12,500 nuclear warheads still existing around the globe across 9 nations, the risk today is no longer theoretical. Jessica Taneja for DD India.
And still to come on this edition of DD India Live. Prime Minister Narendra Modi dedicates Kartavya Bhavan to the nation. India's Monetary Policy Committee has kept the policy repo rate unchanged at 5.5%. And it's Taylor Fritz versus Ben Shelton at the Canadian Open semi-final.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we analyze India's leap into new age of warfare, where victory demands precision in the skies and protection in cyberspace. We decode one of India's battlefield game changers, the guided Pinaka rocket system. What is Rudram 3 and why its integration with Su-30 MKI a game-changing boost to India's air power. And finally, we also break down the Sukhoi Super upgrade. How will it redefine India's frontline fighters? Catch it all on Defense Dynamics this Wednesday at 8 p.m. only on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj. The Indian Army has intensified rescue and relief operations in Dharali district in northern India state of Uttarakhand, where a cloudburst has wreaked havoc, sweeping away homes, shops and roads. In the affected region, the Army has launched a swift and coordinated humanitarian assistance and disaster relief operation. Over 225 Army personnel are on ground for search, rescue and relief tasks. Search and rescue dogs are deployed at Harsal village and 3 civil helicopters have landed in coordination with SDRF for casualty evacuation and relief material delivery. The Indian Army has deployed its Mi-17 and Chinook helicopters to look for the stranded. The Army has confirmed the evacuation of 70 persons safely, but over 50 people are still reportedly missing, including 1 junior commissioned officer and 8 soldiers. The key road stretches near Batwari, Linchigad and Gangrani have been washed away, severely affecting movement. All right, and DD India's Kanchan Negi joins us live on this story. Hi Kanchan, how's the rescue operation going on as of now, and what all rescue teams have been deployed in the affected area?
Well, Siddharth, as of now, rescue operations are being carried out at full scale in the disaster-hit areas of Uttarkashi, particularly in the Dharali region. CM Pushkar Singh Dhami personally visited the affected zones today and interacted with the victims and reviewed the relief efforts on the ground. Siddharth is assured that affected families of every possible support and emphasized that no family should be left without aid. The Army, the ITBP, SDRF, Police and the Revenue Department are all actively engaged in the rescue mission. So far, 11 injured Army personnel have been shifted to ITBP base at Matli for treatment. I would also like to add on, Siddharth, that 2 helicopters have been deployed to airlift and deliver essential food and relief material to the remote regions. Additionally, a Chinook helicopter from the Indian Air Force has transported heavy machinery to facilitate road repair, the debris clearance and restoration of essential infrastructure. And the state government has set the priority of restoring normalcy and reaching every affected citizen with timely relief. Siddharth.
Indeed. Kanchan, what all is being done by the Uttarakhand government, for the injured, and is there any advisory issued for the people in nearby areas?
Well, Siddharth, in response to the large-scale disaster, the Uttarakhand government, with support from the centre, has intensified the relief efforts. On state government request, the central government deployed 2 Chinook and 2 Mi-17 helicopters from Chandigarh, Sarsava and Agra, which arrived early morning at Jolly Grant Airport. Currently, 125 Army personnel, 83 ITBP officers and Jawans, along with BROs, 6 officers and 100 plus labourers are working round the clock to reopen blocked roads and restore mobility in the region. Apart from this, the health department has reserved special beds at Doon Medical College, Coronation Hospital and AIIMS Rishikesh for the injured. Specialist doctors, including the psychiatrists, have been sent to provide physical and psychological care in disaster-hit zones. And Siddharth, relief camps have been established at Inter College Harshale, the GMVN and Jhala. Restoration of electricity and communication networks is underway on war footing. And also temporary bridges are being constructed by NIM and SDRF teams at Linchagar to restore accessibility. For strategic coordination, Siddharth, I would like to say that the government had already deployed 3 senior IS officers 2 IGs and 3 SSP rank IPS officers to Uttarkashi. Senior officials including Garhwal Commissioner Vinay Shankar Pandey, IG Garhwal, Sri Rajiv Saroop, and senior IS officers Mehban Singh Bisht, Abhishek Rohila and Gaurav Kumar visited the Smart Disaster Control Room in Uttarkashi to review the situation. So they have all directed and involved personnel to work according to an integrated action plan and ensure all relief material reaches the needy without delay. Siddharth.
Kanchan, did you get any chance to talk to people there from that region or the nearby region? What are they saying?
Well, as of now, we couldn't get the opportunity to talk to the localites because you know that the situation is really tough, Siddharth. And keeping the humane tangent within us, it's just that we are just trying our level best to overcome the situation. We are just providing empathy to the natives as of now, because I think that this is not the first time that Uttarakhand is going through such a tough time. So I think instead of interacting with them, because they all have the same answer that they are devastated. I mean, they're broken internally. So it's our duty as citizens as well to actually provide them with empathy and support them in this crucial time. Siddharth.
Definitely, Kanchan. Whatever happened in Uttarakhand is really, really unfortunate, and we so hope that the normalcy returns as soon as possible. We leave it there. Thank you so much. This is developing.
Definitely, Siddharth. Thank you so much, Siddharth.
Yeah, this is developing, and we'll keep taking updates from you, Kanchan. Thank you so much. India's Monetary Policy Committee has kept the policy repo rate unchanged at 5.5%, and the neutral stance will continue. The MPC statement was delivered by Reserve Bank of India Governor Sanjay Malhotra on Wednesday. The real GDP growth for 2025-26 are projected at 6.5%, while the real GDP growth for next year, Q1, is projected at 6.6%.
Real GDP growth for 2025-26, the current year, is projected at 6.5%, our earlier projection, with Q1 at 6.5%, Q2 at 6.7%, Q3 at 6.6%, and Q4 at 6.3%. Real GDP growth for Q1 next year, 2026-27, is projected at 6.6%. The risks are evenly balanced.
The Reserve Bank of India has released the Financial Inclusion Index for financial year 2025, which saw a rise of 67% as compared to 64.2% for FY 2024. The significant rise is due to implementation of government schemes at the grassroots level. Under the Pradhan Mantri Jan Dhan Yojana, over 55.98 crore beneficiaries now have access to formal financial systems. For financial awareness, several campaigns were launched to reach last-mile beneficiaries. According to an official release, RBI has said that the improvement in the index is largely due to increased usage and better quality, reflecting deepening of financial inclusion and sustained financial literacy initiatives. In a significant milestone towards reshaping India's administrative capital, Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Wednesday dedicated the Kartavya Bhavan to the nation, calling it a symbol of unwavering resolve and continuous efforts towards public service. PM Modi stated that the Bhavan is an example of state-of-the-art infrastructure and added that it will not only increase policy delivery efficiency but will also provide a new momentum to the country's development. PM also said that the Bhavan reflects India's commitment to building a developed and self-reliant India. A key landmark under the ambitious Central Vista redevelopment project, it is located at the heart of New Delhi. The modern and eco-friendly office complex will now house major ministries like Home Affairs, External Affairs and Rural Development, bringing them under one roof for smarter, seamless governance. Spread across 1.5 lakh square meters, the Bhavan is designed with sustainability at its core, promising 30% energy savings and generating over 5 lakh units of electricity annually. Prime Minister Modi interacted with the workers who contributed in building the Kartavya Bhavan and said that the nation has witnessed the tireless hard work and determination of our Shram Yogis who have shaped it. PM Modi also planted a sapling at the courtyard outside the Bhavan. PM also noted that the building has been developed with full attention given to environmental protection. The Union Government on Wednesday reaffirmed its commitment to safeguarding creative freedom while ensuring responsible digital content dissemination of OTT platforms through IT Rules 2021. A 3-tier grievance redressal mechanism is now in place to ensure responsible digital content regulation. To enhance public awareness, the government is rolling out unified messaging across print, digital and audiovisual platforms. In a major boost to the AVGC XR sector, that is animation, visual effects, gaming, comics and extended reality sector, the government has partnered with global tech leaders to build a future-ready workforce. The launch of the Indian Institute of Creative Technologies, backed by 392.85 crore investment, will empower next-gen talent in animation, VFX, gaming and XR. Taylor Fritz of the United States has set up an All-American semi-final with Ben Shelton at the Canadian Open in Toronto on Wednesday. Fritz beat Andrei Rublev 6-3, 7-6 to claim his place in the fifth semi-final of the season. The American has now won 19 of his last 22 matches, including reaching the Wimbledon semi-finals. Fritz squandered a match point in the second set, then lost the next 2 points, but he eventually prevailed over Rublev. Meanwhile, fourth seed Ben Shelton won a Masters quarter-final on his fourth attempt by defeating Australian Alex de Minaur 6-3, 6-4. Shelton laid down 11 aces in his 91-minute victory, in fact, and dominated on rallies. The result ended a 7-match win streak for de Minaur. That's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms, and you can scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Siddharth Bharadwaj from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.